Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you isn't comfort. It's not soft. It's not gentle. It's the truth most people run from their entire lives. You will never level up by accident. You will never become powerful, respected, disciplined, or successful unless you force yourself out of the version of you that's keeping you weak. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to make you the man you pretend you want to be. It's on you. Always has been. Every single day, life gives you two options: stay the same or force yourself to level up. And most people choose the same routine, the same excuses, the same comfortable little prison they call a life. But the truth is simple. Comfort destroys potential. Comfort kills ambition. Comfort is the silent assassin of every dream you ever had. If you don't wake up and declare war on your own weakness, your own laziness, your own fear, you will stay exactly where you are. And deep down, you know it. You want a better life? Then become the kind of person who earns a better life. You want respect? Then become someone worth respecting. You want power? Then build yourself into someone strong enough to carry power. Discipline isn't something you wait to feel. Discipline is something you force. You push when you're tired. You grind when you're uninspired. You move when every part of you wants to stay still. That's the difference between average men and men who dominate the world. One forces himself. The other waits for life to give permission. And here's the hook most people ignore. Every time you choose the harder path, you gain a little more control over your life. Every time you push when it's uncomfortable, you gain a little more self-respect. Every time you do what needs to be done, even when you don't want to, you build a version of yourself that's unstoppable. That's how leveling up works. Not with luck, not with chance, not with wishing, but with force, with pressure, with consistency so ruthless that life has no choice but to move out of your way. You will never grow in ease. You grow in discomfort. You grow in chaos. You grow in pressure. The world doesn't reward the man who hopes. It rewards the man who acts, the man who commands himself, the man who refuses to remain the same. If you want to become someone your future self will be proud of, then start doing the things your present self hates. Wake up earlier, train harder, read more, build skills, take risks, fail, try again, push again and again and again until you break the limits you thought would define you forever. And listen, nobody is coming to motivate you every day. Not your friends, not your family, not me. Because real men don't need external motivation. They force themselves to level up because average is unacceptable. You were not built for mediocrity. You were not born to blend in. You were born to rise. But rising requires pressure, and pressure requires intent. And intent requires you to stop lying to yourself and start acting like the man you keep imagining in your head. Most people waste their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect surge of motivation that magically pushes them forward. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. That moment never comes. Life does not hand greatness to the man who waits. It hands greatness to the man who forces himself to move when every part of him wants to stay still. If you're waiting for motivation, you've already lost half the battle. Strong men don't wait to feel ready. They build readiness through action. And weak men delay action until they feel ready. That's the difference between leaders and followers, winners and spectators, the built and the broken. You need to understand this at the deepest level. Everything you want in life is buried behind the discipline you refuse to enforce on yourself. Every single day you open your eyes, you are presented with the same battlefield, comfort versus growth. And the biggest lie comfort tells you is that you can start tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And next year becomes a decade of wasted potential that you'll spend regretting. One of the cruelest realities of life is that time punishes hesitation harder than anything else. You think you're standing still, but in reality, you're falling behind. While you're waiting for motivation, someone else is already moving, already building, already becoming the man you wished you were. That is the hook you must hear. Someone out there with less talent, fewer chances, and more obstacles is still outworking you simply because he decided to stop waiting. You must become the kind of person who moves first, acts first, executes first. You can't negotiate with your mind every morning. You can't sit there scrolling through excuses, trying to convince yourself that today doesn't matter. Today matters more than anything. Today is the only weapon you have. And if you don't force yourself to use it, it becomes a weapon used against you. Discipline is not built in special moments. It's built in the boring, uncomfortable, invisible hours when no one is watching. That's when you either choose to level up or stay exactly where you are. And staying where you are is a slow death. It's silent, it's comfortable, and it destroys men every day. What you need to understand is that taking control of your life starts with taking control of the smallest decisions. When you wake up and your mind whispers, relax a little longer, that moment defines your future. When you know you should work, train, grind, study, or improve, but you choose the easier option, you're trading your potential for temporary comfort. And it's a trade you will regret every single time. Life rewards the man who forces action when motivation is absent. That is the mark of a strong mind. A strong man acts before he feels like it. A weak man waits for the feeling to save him. And feelings are unreliable. They shift, fade, disappear. But discipline is permanent. If you cultivate it, you must force yourself to move with urgency. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because the world doesn't slow down for your doubts. It doesn't pause for your fears. It doesn't adjust for your lack of motivation. No one cares if you don't feel inspired. No one cares if you're tired, stressed, or bored. The world only responds to results. Every time you push yourself in the absence of motivation, you harden your mind, you sharpen your will, you build the internal aggression required to become unstoppable. And that aggression is necessary because life isn't gentle. Life hits hard. Life punishes weakness. If you don't push yourself, life will push you into places you don't want to be. So the hook is this. You either force yourself now or life will force you later, and life is far less kind. When you control yourself, you control your outcomes. When you wait for motivation, you hand your power to chance. You cannot afford to wait. Waiting is the enemy. Waiting is the trap. Waiting is how men lose everything they could have been. The moment you stop waiting is the moment your real transformation begins. Comfort is the most attractive prison in the world because it doesn't feel like a prison while you're living inside it. It feels safe. It feels warm. It feels familiar. And that's exactly why it destroys men quietly, slowly, without them even noticing that their potential is being eaten alive, one easy choice at a time. The truth is simple but brutal. Comfort is the enemy of power. Every time you choose comfort, you weaken yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. It's a slow decay, and you won't see the consequences until it's too late. The life you dream about exists outside the walls of the comfort you refuse to leave, and the version of you that you keep imagining only appears when you break those walls from the inside. Most people cling to comfort because it asks nothing from them. No sacrifice, no pain, no discipline, no pressure. But that's exactly why the world never rewards them. Comfort is a sedative. It numbs your ambition, dulls your instincts, kills your drive. You start convincing yourself that resting a little more is productivity, that taking it easy is self-care, and that small breaks don't matter. But those tiny lies stack up until they turn into years of wasted potential. That's the hook you must understand. Every comfortable choice you make today becomes a chain you will carry tomorrow. Chains of regret, chains of missed opportunities, chains of weakness disguised as peace. You cannot rise while protecting the habits that keep you ordinary. Greatness is never found in the soft areas of life. It's built in discomfort, forged in pressure, born from struggle. Look at any powerful man in history. None of them became who they are because life was easy. They became powerful because they refused to protect comfort. They rejected it. They attacked it. They turned discomfort into a weapon that sharpened them while the rest of the world slept. That's why comfort kills potential. It demands nothing, so it builds nothing. You cannot sculpt strength without resistance. You cannot build discipline without struggle. You cannot become extraordinary while choosing what feels good instead of what builds you. Comfort makes you predictable, weak, slow, passive. It makes you tolerate things you should fight. It makes you accept a lifestyle that is beneath your capability. And the more you accept, the more you shrink. That's the dangerous trap. Comfort doesn't take from you instantly, it steals from you slowly. Every day, a little piece of your hunger disappears. Every week, a little bit of your confidence fades. Every month, a part of your potential dissolves. Until one day, you wake up and realize you've become the watered-down version of the man you were supposed to be. And by then, climbing out feels impossible because comfort has already wrapped itself around your mind. But discomfort, pressure, challenge, these things wake you up. They activate your instincts. They push you into growth, whether you feel ready or not. When you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, when you take on tasks that stretch your limits, when you push your mind and body beyond what they want, you unlock parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. That's where discipline grows. That's where mental toughness forms. That's where confidence is born. The confidence you're searching for will never come from comfort. It comes from knowing you can handle pain, pressure, and adversity and still stand tall. That's real power. The hook is undeniable. Every time you choose discomfort over comfort, you gain an advantage over your past self, over your competition, over your doubts. Every uncomfortable decision builds leverage. Every difficult choice builds momentum. The world does not respect a man who chooses ease. It respects the man who chooses effort, the man who chooses grind over excuses, the man who chooses growth over softness. That's the man people follow. That's the man opportunities are drawn to. That's the man who shapes his own destiny instead of living inside one built by laziness. If you want power, stop shielding yourself from the very things that create it. Step into discomfort intentionally. Train harder than you feel like. Work longer than you planned. Push yourself when your mind screams for relief. Do the uncomfortable tasks that others run from. Because in those moments, those painful, gritty, pressure-filled moments, you are no longer the prisoner of comfort. You become the man who conquers it. Most men live their entire lives as slaves to their emotions without realizing it. They wake up only when they feel like it, work only when they're in the mood, chase their goals only on days when life feels easy. And then they wonder why they remain stuck, unfulfilled, weak, and invisible. The truth is brutally simple. Feelings are unreliable. Feelings are fragile. Feelings are temporary. If you build your life around them, your life becomes temporary too. Discipline is the only foundation strong enough to hold the weight of real success. A disciplined man moves with intention, not emotion. He acts because action is required, not because the mood is convenient. And that's exactly why most men can't compete with him. Every day you wake up, your emotions try to negotiate with you. They whisper excuses, take it easy, you deserve a break, you can start tomorrow, you're too tired today, and many men obey these whispers like commands, never realizing they're surrendering their future one soft decision at a time. The hook is this: every time you choose emotion over discipline, you weaken the muscle that controls your destiny. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you strengthen it. Discipline is not about being robotic, it's about being the master of your own internal world. Weak men let their minds control them. Strong men control their minds. The biggest transformation in your life happens the moment you stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking yourself what needs to be done. When you detach your actions from your emotions, you become a different creature. You become stable. You become consistent. You become unstoppable. No storms inside you, no turbulence on the outside, no mental games can break a man who is committed to the task regardless of how he feels. That's why discipline always beats motivation. Motivation is a moment. Discipline is a lifestyle. Motivation is energy. Discipline is identity. Think of every powerful person you admire, athletes, entrepreneurs, warriors, leaders. None of them became elite because they felt amazing every day. They became elite because they acted at a level far above their emotions. They trained when their bodies hurt. They worked when their minds resisted. They pushed through days that average men use as excuses. That's why the gap between winners and losers is so massive. Winners rely on systems. Losers rely on moods. And moods shift like the wind, weak, inconsistent, temporary. But systems, habits, and discipline create momentum that nobody can stop. People misunderstand discipline. They think it's punishment. They think it's suffering. They think it's the death of freedom. But discipline is freedom. Discipline is control. It is the source of confidence, strength, stability, and identity. When you know you can command yourself, when you know you follow through no matter what, life becomes simpler. Fear becomes smaller. Challenges become manageable. You develop a quiet, unshakable confidence that cannot be faked. That confidence comes from knowing you won't betray yourself when things get hard. The hook you must understand is this: discipline makes your emotions irrelevant. You can be tired, but you still execute. You can be stressed, but you still move. You can be discouraged, but you still show up. And showing up when you don't want to is what builds the man you're trying to become. Anyone can act when they feel strong. Only the discipline can act when they feel weak. And that is where greatness is built. Not in the moments of hype, but in the moments of resistance. Every time you choose discipline, you are casting a vote for the stronger version of yourself. Every time you let emotion control you, you are feeding the weaker version. You must decide which version wins, not once, every day, every morning, every choice. This is what separates the men who rise from the men who remain average. Discipline sharpens your mind, hardens your resolve, and elevates your standards. Emotion lowers them. Discipline builds momentum. Emotion destroys it. Discipline creates results. Emotion creates excuses. If you want to transform your life, stop giving your feelings the power to decide your actions. Feelings come and go. Discipline stays. When you choose discipline, you choose growth, power, and self-respect. That is how a man levels up, by acting on command, not emotion. Most people spend their entire lives chasing the easy path because they believe ease equals happiness. They think avoiding difficulty will protect them from pain, stress, or failure. But the truth is the exact opposite. The easy path is the road that quietly destroys your potential. It's the path that keeps you soft, unskilled, unfocused, and invisible. Every time you choose what's easy, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Every time you choose what's hard, you are choosing to grow. The hard path is not a punishment, it's a doorway. It's the gate you must walk through if you want to become powerful, respected, successful, and dangerous in a world that rewards strength and punishes softness. Think about it. Every meaningful transformation in life is born from difficulty. The moments that define your character are never comfortable. They are the moments where everything inside you screams to stop, to rest, to quit. But on the other side of that resistance is the version of you that you're trying to become. The hook is this. Every time you take the harder path, you steal power from the weaker version of yourself and give it to the stronger one. The stronger you becomes real through struggle, not ease. Strength is a currency, and the only way to earn it is by willingly putting yourself in situations that challenge you. The hard path forces you to evolve. It demands discipline, focus, resilience, and courage, all things that only grow under pressure. When you take the easy option, none of these skills develop. You stay the same. You repeat the same cycles, the same habits, the same mistakes. You live the same life. Many men complain that nothing is changing, but nothing changes because they refuse to do anything that forces change. You cannot build a different life with the same old decisions. The hard path is the path that exposes you, breaks you, rebuilds you, and ultimately strengthens you. That's why it's necessary, not optional. Necessary. People avoid the hard path because it hurts. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, but that discomfort is exactly where you find your power. When you choose the harder option, waking up earlier, training when your body is heavy, working when your mind is exhausted, learning when you'd rather relax, you are rewriting your identity. You're proving to yourself that you can do what others won't. You're creating proof that you are not average, that you are not limited by your emotions, and that you are capable of commanding yourself at a high level. The hook you must remember is that the harder path always gives you something back. It might not be immediate, it might not feel good in the moment, but it builds momentum, it builds discipline, it builds self-respect. And self-respect is priceless. When you know you consistently choose the hard path, your confidence becomes unshakable. You look in the mirror and recognize someone capable, someone dangerous, someone who can be trusted, with responsibility, success, and ambition. The easy path can never give you that. It gives you satisfaction for an hour and regret for years. There is a reason the most successful people on the planet voluntarily put themselves through struggle, even when they don't have to. They run toward challenges. They take risks. They embrace pressure. They lean into difficulty instead of running from it. They understand a fundamental rule of life. If something is hard, it's probably worth doing. Pain is a signal of growth, not a warning to stop. Weak men misunderstand this. They interpret discomfort as danger and flee from it. Strong men interpret discomfort as opportunity and move toward it. If you build the mindset that says, I take the hard option by default, you instantly separate yourself from 95% of people. Most people avoid resistance. Most people choose comfort. Most people hide from anything that demands effort. But when you make difficulty your ally, you become someone who thrives where others collapse. Pressure becomes fuel. Obstacles become training. Setbacks become lessons. Hard days become your advantage. And eventually, the world notices. The world rewards the man who consistently chooses the hard path because he proves he can handle more, do more, become more. Every time you stand at a crossroads between easy and hard, understand that your future self is watching. One path leads to the same life you have now. The other leads to a life you can only access through struggle. When you choose the hard path, even when it scares you, you are forging a mind that is unbreakable. You are crafting a life that reflects strength, not weakness. And that decision, made again and again, is what shapes you into someone who rises above everything that once held you back. Most men live their entire lives avoiding the mirror. Not the physical mirror, but the internal one. The one that forces them to confront who they really are. They distract themselves with entertainment, with comfort, with excuses, because deep down they know the truth. They're not improving. They're not growing. They're not evolving into the men they claim they want to be. And the only way to fix that is to become absolutely ruthless about self-improvement. Not casual, not when I feel like it. Ruthless, relentless, uncompromising, because life doesn't reward the man who grows slowly or occasionally. It rewards the man who treats improvement like survival. And in a world this competitive, it is survival. The hook is this: you are either leveling up every day or you are falling behind every day. There is no middle ground. The universe doesn't pause your life while you take it easy. The world doesn't slow down because you're tired, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. While you rest, someone else is building. While you hesitate, someone else is moving. While you complain, someone else is sharpening their skills, their mind, their body. And sooner or later, you will meet that someone, maybe in the workplace, maybe in the market, maybe in the battlefield of life, and you will lose. Not because you were unlucky, but because you were unprepared. Self-improvement requires a certain level of aggression that most people never develop. You have to attack your weaknesses, hunt them, break them, replace them with strengths. If you are lazy, you must crush laziness with structured discipline. If you are unfocused, you must force yourself into routines that eliminate distraction. If you lack confidence, you must put yourself in situations that demand courage, whether you feel ready or not. You can't tiptoe your way into becoming a stronger man. You have to confront every flaw with the mindset of a warrior who refuses to stay weak. Most men fail because they try to improve only when life becomes painful. They wait for a heartbreak, a financial disaster, a crisis before they begin to change. But powerful men improve even when nothing is wrong. They don't need chaos to push them. They push themselves. They train when life is calm, so they are unstoppable when life becomes chaotic. That's the real advantage. Self-improvement isn't a reaction. It's a lifestyle. It's a mentality that says, I will evolve daily whether I feel like it or not. And that mentality separates the average from the exceptional. Every day, you should be building yourself in multiple dimensions, mentally by feeding your mind with knowledge, discipline, and strategic thinking. Physically, by forging your body into a machine capable of handling pressure and pain. Financially, by learning skills that increase your value in the marketplace. Emotionally, by becoming resilient enough that no failure, rejection, or struggle can break you. Most people only develop one area and ignore the rest. But if you want to become someone truly powerful, you must develop all areas simultaneously. A strong body with a weak mind is useless. A sharp mind inside an undisciplined body is wasted potential. A man who is emotionally fragile will always sabotage himself, regardless of how skilled he is. The hook you must understand is that every area of your life reflects your standards. If you accept mediocrity in one part, it spreads into every other part. That's why self-improvement must be ruthless. You have to raise your standards until they intimidate your old self. You have to demand more from yourself than anyone else ever will. Because when your standards rise, your entire life rises with them. Your environment changes. Your relationships change. Your opportunities change. You attract better because you become better. People will call you obsessed. They will call you extreme. They will say, you're doing too much. But that's because they're doing too little. The world belongs to the obsessed. The world belongs to the men who treat improvement like an obligation, not an option. If you want to become truly unstoppable, you must be willing to outgrow people, outwork people, outlearn people, and outperform people who are content staying the same. Improvement demands sacrifices, comfort, laziness, old habits, old environments, even old friend groups. Some things must be left behind for you to rise. And the deeper truth is this: the moment you stop improving is the moment you start declining. Forward or backward, growth or stagnation. There is no pause button in life. If you want to become a man your future self will be proud of, you must be ruthlessly committed to continuous evolution. not someday. Every day, your entire future is shaped by one thing, the standards you set for yourself right now, not tomorrow, not when life gets easier, not when motivation magically appears, right now. Most people never understand this. They drift through life thinking circumstances shape them, thinking luck shapes them, thinking other people shape them. But the truth is brutal and liberating. You shape your life through the standards you are willing to tolerate. If you accept laziness, you become lazy. If you accept weakness, you become weak. If you accept being average, you live an average life. And if you raise your standards, every part of your life is forced to rise with them. The hook is simple. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your standards. Look around you. Everything you have right now, your health, your income, your discipline, your confidence, it all reflects the standards you've lived by up until this moment. If you're out of shape, it's because your standard allowed it. If you're financially struggling, your standard allowed it. If you lack confidence or direction, your standard allowed it. That sounds harsh, but it's the most empowering truth in the world. Because if your standards created this version of your life, then raising them can create a completely different one. You have the power to redefine yourself at any moment, but most people never do because raising your standards requires the one thing they fear most, responsibility. When you raise your standards, you declare war on every excuse that once felt comfortable. You stop saying, I'll try and replace it with I must. You stop accepting minimal effort from yourself and start demanding excellence. You stop allowing your emotions to dictate your actions and start forcing your actions to dictate your results. This shift is not small. It changes everything. The moment your standards rise, your habits change, your mindset changes, your discipline sharpens, and your entire direction shifts. It's like flipping a switch inside yourself, and suddenly the weak version of you has no place to hide. Most men want better outcomes, but refuse to elevate their standards. They want success while keeping the standards of someone who accepts mediocrity. They want respect while behaving like someone who doesn't respect himself. They want a powerful life while living with powerless habits. Life doesn't work that way. You cannot have elite results with average standards. You cannot build a strong future with weak expectations. Your standards must intimidate your old self. They must make the lazy version of you uncomfortable. That discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. The hook you must understand is that your standards act like a filter. They decide what stays in your life and what gets removed. When your standards rise, certain habits die, certain friendships fade, certain environments become unacceptable, certain behaviors feel beneath you. And that's exactly how it should be, because elevation requires separation. You cannot rise while staying connected to the same limitations that held you down. Your standards force your identity to evolve. And when your identity evolves, your reality follows. Think about every moment in your life when you grew. It was always connected to a shift in standards. Maybe you got tired of being broke, tired of being weak, tired of being ignored, tired of being disrespected. And in that moment of frustration, something inside you snapped. You raised your standard. You decided, I'm done living like this. That decision carried more power than any motivational speech ever could, because when a man raises his standards, he becomes a different animal. He moves differently. He thinks differently. He works differently. He stops negotiating with his excuses. He stops tolerating low-quality behavior from himself and others. He becomes a man with accountability, discipline, and purpose. Your standards also determine how you handle failure. Weak standards crumble under pressure. Strong standards turn pressure into fuel. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you don't use failure as a reason to quit. You use it as a reason to push harder. You don't blame circumstances, you fix them. You don't wait for opportunities, you create them. That is the mindset of someone whose life is destined to rise. A powerful future is not built through wishful thinking. It is built through non-negotiable expectations. Expectations about how hard you work, how you think, how you show up, how you treat your body, how you use your time, how you respond to adversity. These standards carve your identity, and your identity carves your destiny. If you want a stronger future, raise your standards today, because your future is nothing but a reflection of the standards you choose right now. So here's your closing truth, and it's brutal. If you stay where you are, it's because you chose it. If you level up, it's because you forced it. Greatness isn't an accident. Strength isn't an accident. Success isn't an accident. They are built, forged, earned through relentless self-control and the refusal to quit. Starting today, stop waiting, stop hoping, stop dreaming without action. Force yourself to level up mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, until the world has no choice but to recognize who you've become. This is your moment. This is your chance. Now get up and force the next version of yourself into existence.